As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to episode 34 of Zero to Hero. Happy New Year. We are starting this one off with an absolute bang. We have the Public Information Officer for Kansas City, as well as the founder of Heartland Arts KC. So let's go ahead and bring him in. His name's Logan Stacer. Hey Logan, how's it going, buddy?
Hey Geno, thanks for having me. That opening video, I was like, oh, I'm emotional. That's good.
Yeah, it gets you a little bit, right? It gets you going a little bit. I love it. So, before we get into this whole thing, man, just tell us a little bit about who Logan Stacer is. Give us your elevator pitch. Who are you?
I am, among many things, a husband, a youth pastor, a nonprofit founder, a city employee, and a multi-hyphenate creative performing artist and writer.
Man, that is that's
like
mouthful.
2 floors.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a few floors going on in there. So tell us a little bit about Heartland Arts KC. We were talking obviously a little bit about it before the show, but for everybody watching, what is Heartland Arts KC? How can they get involved?
Yeah, so Heartland Arts KC is a nonprofit based here in Kansas City, and we train performing artists to become advocates for social justice. And specifically, we do that by educating performing artists, whether they're theater makers, poets, comedians, dancers, mimes. If you love a crowd, come to us. We educate performing artists about public policy, with the thought being that advocacy manifests in a new form of policy. So upcoming in 2023, we're launching our fellowship. The application actually opens like later today. So this is
perfect timing. Love it.
We're opening the application today for our 2023 fellowship. So that'll be a 12-week program that runs from February to the end of April. And the selected fellows will learn about Kansas City's Climate Protection and Resiliency Plan, which is our social justice policy that Kansas City just passed. Really big deal. And if you haven't heard about it, a bunch of funny people, talented people will be teaching you about it here soon. So
love it.
You can apply for that if you want to do that, or if you want to support that. We are very, very happily looking for donations, or if you want to sponsor an artist, it's a $3,000 donation to sponsor an artist to go through this 12-week program. So there you go.
Awesome. Where is it going to be at? Where's the program going to be held at?
Yeah, so we'll have rehearsals, the Greg Kleiss Community Center is going to be where we do the rehearsals and the performance making, and we're going to have some workshops too that will be open to the public about understanding the plan, about how to do stand-up comedy. We're going to have skill workshops and policy workshops available to the public at the Greg Kleiss Community Center. And our final performance, which will be at the end of April, we still need a venue. So if you have a place that, like a theater, we're looking for a theater. We have a couple ideas, but we haven't solidified a place for our final performance yet.
I got you right on. So yeah, if you want to, have a good time and learn about some things that are going on in Kansas City, get involved for sure. So Logan, obviously, with you having so many different hats on, right? I'm sure you've had quite a bit of a social media journey through all those things, being the public information officer, being a founder, being a creator. Tell us a little bit about your social media journey.
Yeah, so for me, no one's ever asked me this question before, so this is funny. So Facebook, my high school was a Facebook high school, and then Twitter happened, and then I was the type that would post on Facebook a lot, and someone was like, "Get a Twitter. You post too much for Facebook. Go to Twitter." And so I've been like loyal to Twitter for like 12 years, but then lately I haven't been.
Twitter's been a little crazy lately.
Yeah, and so, but on Twitter, Chance the Rapper retweeted me once. That was like the pinnacle of my Twitter, and I used to put out bangers pretty regularly on Twitter. That was like 2017, 2018. And I was like, I'm gonna be Twitter famous. And then I got like, went viral, and I was like, I did it. I'm cool here. So
Yeah, I
after
made
that,
it.
I really was intentional about it, because that was my senior year of college. I was like, okay, I should probably get my grades up, trying to get ready for grad school. So I took a break from that and went to New York. And of course, when you're in New York, they're like, oh, what's your Instagram? What's your Twitter? What's your Instagram? And I was like, well, maybe I should take this seriously again. And so it's always been that back and forth of like, I know I need it because of like what I do, and now it's like part of my job. But as far as like my personal thing, now that I have Heartland, my wife does all of our graphic design on our Instagram. So check us out on Instagram at Heartland Arts KC, because the graphic design's cool. Thanks
There
to
you
me.
go.
And so now I like using it for more business stuff and keeping my personal things sort of off the internet. So and I love LinkedIn, actually. LinkedIn's my favorite personal. I use my LinkedIn more than anything. I look forward to getting on LinkedIn more than any other app right now.
Yeah, I think that's the same for me. I was like, we like to use it for business, but the personal is not always there, which is something that's funny, because at J29 we've kind of realized that the personal and the business kind of intermingle now,
I
way more than they
know.
used to.
I know.
So we're not always the best at practicing, or I'm not always the best at practicing what we preach, but it's so interesting now, kind of really post COVID, right? Where it's not so much about what the product is, it's not as much about, what you're actually buying or what you're getting involved with, but the people and the story that's behind that really drives those consumers, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's
Yeah.
really
And
interesting.
for Heartland too, like right now, it's a small team. And so I'm like, well, I got to talk about it more, because when I say art and public policy, that means nothing to most people. But I'm like, no, guys, this is the future.
Right, right. Yeah, and social media is that tool that's really probably gonna help get that message
Yeah.
out there,
I
man, in
made
a
a
great way.
TikTok for the first time last week.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
That's a whole different way. It's really interesting too to me, Logan, that every channel has its own purpose, right? I mean, your
Yeah.
TikToks are that short, quick, which kind of everybody's trying to replicate right now with that short form video. But the LinkedIn's supposed to be the professional site, and the Facebook is supposed to be the family and all that stuff. But those waters are kind of getting a little
Yeah.
bit more muddy as we go along here, which is interesting. So obviously, Logan, the show's got a superhero kind of undertone to it. So, every superhero has a defining moment. What do you say yours is when it comes to life and career?
Yeah. When it comes to life, I think there are many. So to understand me, a lot of my background is in speech and debate. I was, Kansas specifically is a super big high school speech and debate state. And on the speech side, I was a state champion in high school, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then I went to college. I was a national champion my junior year of college.
Wow.
And then going into my senior year, I was like ready to go, and I lost my voice at the national tournament.
Oh no.
It was in Colorado Springs, so that high altitude, and I was also in a leadership role, so I had a lot of talking to do before the tournament even started. Day 2 of the tournament, and I cannot talk. Like, I wake up and I'm like,
Gosh. Oh no.
But I found the strength in me to get through my performances, and I ended up, in college, you can take 6 events to nationals. I ended up taking 3 all the way to finals. I was a runner-up in one, 4th in one, and 5th in the other. And then cumulatively, I was 7th in the country with no voice. And I was
Wow.
like, if I could do this, this, because I was like, yo, this is tough. But if I could get through that, I was like, I can really focus. And then there was a moment coming back where, that's all I'd known. 8 years of like speech and debate, and then nationals is over, and I was sitting in my room, and I got this offer, I got accepted into NYU, and there was just this moment of clarity where I was like, everything is stopped, and as soon as I reply to this email, it'll start again. And I knew it, and I was like, I want to just sit in this for a moment. And I gave myself maybe like a minute or two, and I was like, yes, I'm going. And so that was like a real pivotal moment. And I feel like I'm still in, because everything since then is kind of led up to where I'm at now with the business, with working for the city, being back in Kansas City. I didn't think I'd make it back here, but COVID had its own plans. But everything is right now a manifestation of that decision. In between speech and then grad school, that little pocket of time was like my origin story.
Wow, and what a good story too, just like pushing through. I mean, were you just, I mean, was the voice just struggling the whole time, just forcing words out, or I mean, what?
It if you didn't know, you wouldn't know, because as at that level of performance, so people don't understand. So speech is separate from debate. So debate is like winner, loser, head to
Right.
head. Speech is more like track, where there's like 11 events, and then there's 6 people competing against each other, and there's a judge, but there's no like real metric for success. It's just whatever the judge thinks is best gets the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're
Right.
ranked, and then it's this whole thing. So at that level, and you have 10, each performance is 10 minutes. So like second by second choreography, tonal adjustments, gestures, like at that level, it's very intense. And by the time I got to finals, I knew that it wasn't the performance I had to give, because I had to change my breathing because I needed the extra breath support. And so it's like the performance is like 10 seconds slower than it usually is, but it made like all the difference to me. And I was like, this could be so much better, but I had to breathe different. So that's how that went.
That's awesome though, man, that you did that well. I mean, with, you know, it's crazy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's perseverance. It's great, which actually kind of leads into our next question. You know, what are the attributes that define a hero? Because I feel like you showed probably a few of them, you know, in that leadership role, showing your team, hey, it doesn't matter what's going on, we're going out to get this thing done.
Yeah, defines a hero. I think so. I have a minor in leadership studies, which is super interesting, because it's like in leadership studies, they're like everyone's a leader.
Which
And
obviously we know is not true, right? Some people are leaders, and some people, I mean, not everybody can be the chief, right?
right. And everyone can lead, but I think a hero is uniquely different than a leader, which is where my brain went, is like you have your leadership class, and then you have like your hero class. And I think the biggest thing in a hero is vision. And even like comic, but like Superman had all these powers, but his vision is a world where there's no crime. And that's what drives him. Spider-Man is, got this vision of like, gotta make New York a safe place. So I'm gonna sling these webs and get rid of it. And so it starts there with a high level vision, and then the ability, like power, in a sense, to be able to execute that vision. And I think I'm of the flat, like the work will speak for itself. And obviously you have to like not be rude to people so that you use your powers for good. But I think vision, ability, and just like the ability to stay positive and be a force for good, I would say are my big 3.
Yeah, and that last one, man, I think that's the that's kind of what separates the villains from the heroes, right? Is
Yeah,
that kind of positive outlook and having that vision that is positive, right?
right.
Because the
And
powers can
positive
kind of
is
go either
so
way, right?
yeah, and positivity is so subjective, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah, right.
you know.
Yeah, and it's one of those hardest things I feel like for us maybe normal people, right, that aren't superheroes or in the traditional sense. Like that's one of the hardest things that it is to keep, right? Is that constant positive outlook on life. And I think we all get a little bit guilty, from time to time of like getting down on ourselves or thinking
Yeah.
a certain way about something, and I learned something a while back, that your brain's kind of like a computer, right? But the
Mm,
difference is the positive input needs to be so much more than the negative input to keep that positive outlook, right? So like
hmm,
that one negative thought, it actually takes like 10 times positive thoughts, right, to
interesting.
counteract that negative one. So it is difficult, but it is something that's so important. So everybody out there listening, man, plug your brain with positive thinking all the time,
Positivity.
all the time, all the time, all the time. Affirmations, all that stuff. That's awesome, man. That's a good answer. Now, if you had to pick one superhero that best relates to you, who would that be and why?
Like a superhero, like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe sense.
Whoever's a superhero to you, man. It doesn't have to be in the traditional sense. A lot of people go that way, but whoever's a superhero in your life.
I want to say I love Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. And I'm gonna go with Spider-Man. I'm gonna specifically go with Miles Morales Spider-Man
Okay,
because one, I was slinging through Brooklyn for a little bit.
there
Okay,
you go.
loved it. But two, like the thing about Spider-Man is sort of he got bit by the spider and was like, well, I this happened to me and now I got to do something with it. And he was like, I don't want anyone to know it's me. I just want to go do the thing and make my place a better place to live. And I still got to go to school the next day.
Still got to make everything happen.
Yeah, and I feel like this sort of me the like public speaking, right? Like the ability to use words, I think is not something that most people love. And I fell in love with just like using words. That was the spider. And I was like, oh wow, I can say things and people want to listen. And that's good. So I should do something with that. And literally, my mom was like, it's time to go to college. What do you want to major? And I was like, I like to talk to people. So I'm going to study communication. And so I just rode with this power of language. And so that's always been my thing. And I like to use it. Now I'm a public information officer. Like it's my job to give people information and to communicate with my city that I love. And I still like to learn. So I still got class, got my nonprofit that I got to go. So I do it. And then I go do this other thing and I'm just having fun.
Yeah. And you're using it for good too, right? Which is
Yes.
which is the good thing, right? I
Yes.
mean, a lot of people in history, if you don't have to look that far, right, have used words in a very, very bad way, right? But
Yeah.
but that mindset and where you're going obviously, leads you to using it for good, which is a good thing, right? Because I
Yeah.
can tell you can use some words for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're using them for good. Um, so I know we talked about it a little bit already, but how can people follow you? How can they get a hold of you? How can they get involved with Heartland or anything you're doing?
Yeah, so the highest need right now is financial support for the fellowship. We have this programming laid out and we got to rebuild KC grant and we have it's legit. That's me saying Heartland's a legit thing that's happening. But it's only our second year and I'm only 26 and so many people will give money to a 26-year-old doing something. So uh but I'm doing it and it's going well. And so financial support for the fellowship, whether that's sponsorship of an artist, whether you're a business, an individual, that's the main thing. The second thing is coming to our shows when we have them. And that is all posted on our social media at Heartland Arts KC on everything. And as far as connecting with me, like I said, LinkedIn is my go-to. I just post random things on Instagram that look cool. And if you have a teen that needs to know Jesus, I'm also a youth pastor at Awaken Church KC. So you can send them to us on Wednesdays at Awaken Church, which is on 48th and Rainbow in KCK.
Love it. Perfect. Yeah, be sure to check out their website too. I've got it at www.kc.org. Really cool site. Some obvious great graphic design from the wife up here as well, it looks like. So that's awesome. Well, Logan, thanks for coming on the show, man. It was a pleasure having you, getting to hear your story, and anything we can do for you in the future, we're about it, man. I love
Yeah,
the mission.
absolutely. All
Cool.
right. Thanks
Right
for
on,
having
Logan.
me.
Have a good day, buddy.
Yeah, take care.